My name is Cassie Summers. Welcome to the Curious Universe podcast. Hello, hello. Welcome to the show. Today, we're going to talk about something that might piss you off a little bit. Yeah, sorry, I'm just moving things out of my way. There we go. And it might not, but for me, it kind of pissed me off the first time I heard this concept. But I have to tell you, once I've embraced it and really used it in my life, it has opened up so many doors and, dare I say, magic. So I'd like to offer that to you today as we explore your point of view creates your reality. So, what does that mean? A lot of us feel like and I was taught this myself. I really dived into psychology. I find it fascinating. And, why is someone the way they are? Like, what's their personality, the way they function, the way they treat people? And a lot of that is rooted on how you grew up. And I'm not discounting any of that stuff, okay? But I kind of had this, perception that the world shapes you. Okay. And that your life is constructed based on how you were shaped by the world. That is the belief that this reality creates your point of view. Okay. You following me? So, for example, if you grew up really poor, and that was the reality you grew up in, then if you created a life of poverty, it would be because the universe, God, the creator, spirit, source, like whatever it is that you want to call it, um, it shaped you to believe that this is how life was, that your points of view would be, I always have financial difficulty because this is how you grew up. This was your reality. You following me? So you can look at this. It could be body stuff. It could be financial stuff. It could be life stuff. It could be relationship stuff. Oh my gosh. Like, I've heard so many relationship points of view. Like, um, there's no good single guys out there, or all the good ones are taken. You must have heard that at some point. Um, other like whatever those points of view are, right? They are this is so much interesting energy coming up as and I love me some energy exploration. The more I go to speak to this, the more there's this energy of like walls that I'm perceiving. Now they might not necessarily be yours. They could be the other person listening to this at the same time as you. So what if we were willing to lower those walls for a moment? And what is the value of holding on to the concept that this reality shapes you, that your points of view are created based on your life experiences, based on this reality? Again, it took me a little while to get through this on my own. And we're just dipping our toes in right now. We're just exploring it just a little curiously. Like, what if there was something different? Like, what if your point of view actually created your reality? What if you were that powerful? What if you're that magical? And it, even though it might appear that it's coming from outside of you, like, well, yeah, how could I create, my mom being snarky to me when I didn't even talk to her and she just called me out of the blue? How could I create my car breaking down again, even though it's like a new car? Like, how could I create all these money things? You can. You literally create everything, whether it's like from you, like creating disaster in your body, or externally, the things that are showing up around you. Now, you're not responsible for other people's lives. Like you don't create like your mom's life or your kid's life or all that stuff, right? I'm talking about your reality and your life. And so every single point of view you take becomes the I was gonna say building blocks, but you know what's way more fun to perceive is if you've watched Discovery of Witches, I love that series, or maybe you read the books. I haven't read the books yet, but I heard they're even more magical, as is usually the case. Um, and there's this weaving thing, this she's doing this witch, and she's weaving all these different threads. And so every point of view you take, it's you're not creating a beautiful tapestry. You're actually creating the limitation and the darkness and the structures and the difficulties of your life through all of these points of view. And then you have this kind of web, right? And you might want to change something, but it's so dynamically hardwired and intertwined together that you're now facing a challenge because you've built your whole life upon these points of view. You've created your whole reality based on these points of view, and nothing can really come into your life um, if you have a point of like if it doesn't match your point of view. For example, um, I had the point of view that people just weren't kind because I had my life experience was that there were so many unkind people out there, and I often found myself with them for some reason. I was always dating the jerk. I was always totally attracted to the guy that was going to reject me. Um, so kind men was foreign to me. Like even my own father was only okay, that's a whole we don't need to go on that can of worms. So my point of view was men aren't kind. So then if a man was ever kind to me, I wouldn't even receive it as kindness. It would be like, what are you doing? What are you like, what's wrong with you? Like I remember meeting this one beautiful man and he wasn't judging me. So it was my brain was saying he hates you. Like he hates you. And then I was like, no, he clearly doesn't hate me. And then it was like he doesn't care about you because my reality was judgment meant caring. So it didn't match. So I couldn't even receive him. It took years before I got to the place where I could actually receive the gift and the kindness of him because I had destroyed the reality and the points of view that were creating that. Can you see how valuable this would be to you if you could harness the power of creating your reality? And if you could acknowledge where you're using this power against you, like for example, what I was just talking about, and undo that. So how do we undo that? So one way is to actually get clear on what are the points of view you have about fill in the blank. So, um, oh, here's a great story. I money used to be, oh my God, it used to be such a struggle for me. And it's strange because I had a conflictual reality. I had two realities going on at the same time. In one hand, when I first started to like make my own money, it kind of came easy. I got a job really easily just as a kid. Um, I did great at my job. I got new jobs. I would uh, get promoted very quickly. I got a lot of tips when I was serving. Like money would just come in with a lot of ease. That was my reality. Now, I didn't see that reality around me anywhere. So I just brought that reality from knowing. For me, that was just what was true. It wasn't a point of view, it was what was true for me. The point of view I had, though, is that because I grew up really poor, was that money was always challenging and there was always something coming up that's going to like take all your money away. So then I would create that. I would create having to bail out a family member. I would create, oh, my car needs something again. I would create at the end of the month, I'm like, where did all my money even go? Like I couldn't even figure it out. I would constantly be creating this because that was my reality. That was my point of view. However, this is me in fight with this whole concept. So I hear about this concept. It's an access from access consciousness. And if you listen to the show, you know, because I talk about access all the time. It's my jam. I love it. Um, and there's always links in the description if you want to check out accessconscious.com for more. Go there. So I'm like sitting here and I'm kind of looking at this. I'm getting curious as I do, and I'm exploring it with questions. And I'm like, I'm like, what is my reality with money? So just start to like look at what is my reality. And you could do this right now with me. What is your reality with? It could be money, bodies, whatever. Okay. Maybe pick one to start. So it's like, what is my reality with money? And it was just getting clear. And I'm like, okay, so money can come with ease, but it's always going faster. And oh, I have to hide my money. And that was a really big thing for me. Because growing up, if anyone found out I had money, I had a friend that found because I love money. I would just like if I got money from like my auntie, she'd give us like little coins or like a birthday, you might get a $5 bill. I'm like, whoa. And I would just literally collect it for years. I would just stash it and I never spend it. And if someone found it, they're like, "What are you saving up for?" And I'm like, "Nothing. I don't know. I just really like this money." So I just love the vibration of it in my life. That was again from knowing, that was my awareness. However, if anyone found out I had money, they would either convince me to spend it, usually on them, or I've had my money stolen so many times. Best friends coming in and stealing like my hoard for the year of every little scrape of coin I could find. And so my point of view was you have to hide your money. Now, can you see how easily it would be to believe that this reality shaped that point of view, right? Because people stole from me and then my point of view came. I didn't have that point of view before. It was people stealing from me. This is me defending my point of view on my drive. And I'm just like asking these questions about, again, my reality with money. And I'm like, look at this reality was created from my life experiences. How could I come in as a little kid with this point of view, right? I'm like, I didn't have it. But I'm curious. After I sat there defending, I started to pock and pod that. So we could do that right now. We could destroy and uncreate all the points of view you're defending for and against that holds them in place, especially regarding whatever it is you were just looking at, right, wrong, good, bad, POC, BOD, all 100 shorts, boys, poets, creations, bases. Yeah, it could be people aren't trustworthy. Um, Men or women are only using you for sex or only using you for money or whatever it is for you, okay? Whatever that point of view is. Destroy and create it. Right, wrong, good, bad, POC, BOD, all 100. Shorts, boys, poets, creation, spaces, meows. That's the first time you hearing the clearing statement. That set of words I just said. Please go to theclearingstatement.com for more information after this show. I'm not going to explain it here, but essentially it's a set of words that I say and it clears out energy as if by magic. So easy, so wonderful. That's a good point of view. A lot of people have the point of view that everything's hard and things can't be easy. And if they're too easy, or if they're easy, it's not real, it's not valuable, fill in the blank. Then you create a life that isn't easy because who wants a life that's not valuable? Yeah. Anyone do that in your job where if your role isn't difficult or challenging, then you feel guilty getting a paycheck for it. So you're always creating struggle and difficulty in your job. I did that. I also have employees that do that sometimes, and I want to smack them on their butts and be like, just have the ease. I'll still pay you. What if you can still get paid even if you're having ease and fun with your job? All right, back to this whole thing. So I'm sitting here and I'm looking at it. And I'm like, no, like this has been since I was so young. Like this just kept happening and da 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 da. Okay. The reality shaped my point of view. And then I started thinking about something else, and this is kind of how my wandering curiosity will bring me forward into this. I started to think about one of the serving jobs I had in my hometown I grew up in. And I was having this great chat with my boss, and I'm like, wow, I wonder when I'm just like thinking about this conversation for some reason. And he was telling me that in the area I lived, there was actually a huge amount of millionaires. And I was like, really? And I looked at him because the town I grew up in is very, very much like you could call it like a hick town, but not like done well. It's like a wannabe hick town. Like they want to be that, but they're also trying to not be that. Yeah, I don't know. It's really very close-minded. And you do not see people like flaunting their wealth at all, ever. There, you go out to a nice dinner and people are still wearing like maybe they're like Walmart best, okay? Like we're not seeing no Louis Vuitton, no like stuff going on there. And then he said to me, he's like, yeah, but they all hide it. I'm like, oh. So this has happened. I'm in the car and I'm thinking about this and it just like clicked. And it kind of started to explode these very solid points of view I had. Because remember, my point of view was that I have to hide my money. Now I made a story around why I have to hide my money. I have to hide my money because people are going to steal it. But what I wasn't acknowledging is that I grew up in a town steeped like a tea bag, like in the cup of tea. So the water that I grew up in said we have to hide our money. So the majority of wealthy people, anyone that had wealth or money, were functioning from we have to hide our money. And I'm the little tea bag absorbing all of those points of view. So you absorb those and you make them yours. And so I had done that completely unconsciously because I probably started doing it in the mama's womb and then being born. And it just because we're so psychic. We're literally so aware. So you can break this down in your own world of what are some of the societal points of view where you grew up. And that might give you some clues about some limitations that are going on in your life, some things that aren't really working. It could be, again, bodies, it could be with relationships. Maybe it was a town like where it was like overpopulated with men and there weren't a lot of women, or vice versa. And like, so the point of view is like, there's not enough people to go around or whatever, right? I remember in a lot of my uh, high school, well, more like middle school age, there was so many women and so little men. Um, all those points of view, right? Wrong, good, bad, wrong, bad, all 100, shorts, boys, poems, creation, spaces, beyonds. So then it just really started to fire up for me where I created this point of view and then I created life experiences that validated that point of view. Like my friends stealing my money, my family guilt tripping me into spending my money, people borrowing my money and never paying me back, and on and on and on. So this energy, like so dominant and so powerful that I had to hide my money. And then I realized, oh, it's actually true. My point of view created my reality. This reality did not create my point of view. It didn't shape me. It was not my life experiences. My life experiences validated the point of view I already had. And here's the thing is that you have bought points of view from your parents, from your grandparents, from your aunties and uncles and brothers and sisters, and even just the society, the block you lived on, the city you grew up in, and maybe you moved around and you would have collected points of view from all sorts of things, your culture, your religion, all of that. Okay. So you have these points of view, and then you create a reality based on those points of view. Ah, da da da, we got there. I didn't know if we would get there, and we did. This is great because I was hoping that this would actually be a contribution in some way. Um, the power and the potency of this is to look at the things that are not working in your life, and especially those things where you feel like I have no control or this will never change or. And if you start to acknowledge, cool, I created this. Like not me, but you created this. We create everything. We create our cars breaking down. We do. We create weird bills coming out of nowhere that we don't expect. We create going to jury duty. We create people rejecting us. We create unkindness. We create everything. We create our entire reality. You are the designer of your reality. You are literally designing it. You're the weaver. So you can weave with strings of possibility and magic, or you can weave with strings of limitation and impossibility. That's up to you. And it's very empowering. And at first it might be frustrating because I did not have the easiest life. And it felt like it was done to me. Really did. Very strongly felt like it was done to me. And that's where all this defense came up for me of wanting to defend my point of view. Why would I ever create that? Why would I be so stupid to create something like this? And it's not that you're stupid. It's not that there's anything wrong with you. It's simply that you bought a point of view. And it might not even cognitively make sense. You may never get it in the head, but you can get it energetically. And that's what changes everything, anyways. It's not what your mind does, it's actually the energy that changes it and your choice that changes it. So, here's the powerful thing is that, and I've worked on this with clients and they've had this thing of this is happening or something occurs, right? So they had this big incident and and then they start to tell me what this means. Okay? So because of this, this is going to happen and this is going to happen and this is going to happen and this is going to happen. Have you ever done that before? I know I've completely done that before. I had so many, even like, especially big things, like when I was getting separated, I was like, this. These are like, this is what's going to happen now, blah, right? Um, those are all points of view. So you will create that. And I'm looking to like push that into your awareness a little bit, just so you can be aware that you can destroy your life just as quickly as you can create it. And your points of view, especially those solid ones, those intense ones, are some of the biggest destroyers of possibility for you. So when you go, oh, this means blah, 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 you will start to create that in your life. Now, some of us will eventually get out of our funk and then we're like, okay, maybe it doesn't mean I'll never date again. 9 years later. Or money's always going to be a struggle, or all these things, right? Um, when you let go of those points of view, like if you're aware when you start to construct, this is like you're making your reality palace with every point of view. You're building the little columns, the windows, the bedding. You're doing it. You're designing it every time you take a point of view. This is going to be disastrous. This means this. This means none of those are actually awarenesses. A point of view is always dense and always has a sense of contraction or heaviness to it. It's not always contractive, but it's always heavy, solid, feels pretty real, right? True awareness is light. It's like a breeze, like just a breeze across your cheek. It's so light and ever changing, and awareness changes every 10 seconds. So the difference would be, let's say something happened, like, okay, let's say I broke my leg. I hope I don't. It just popped in my head. I broke my leg. I go to the doctor, and they're like, it's going to take 6 months, a year to heal. Okay. And then I'm like, oh my God, this means like I can't do this and I can't do that and blah, 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 and this is gonna wreck this and like never go scuba diving again, blah, 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 like all this stuff, okay? I've now created that as my reality. hmm Now, along the way, I might break down some of those points of view and have like a maybe slighter, easier time, but mostly I'm going to create that. That's what it's going to create. That's how, again, how powerful you are. But if the doctor say, okay, it's going to take a year for it to heal, and I go, okay. And in my head, I'm like, well, that's an interesting point of view. Because that's the first point of view that gets bought, is the point of view that the doctor inserts. It's going to, and we're not making doctors wrong. That's their job. They're supposed to give you some prediction of how long it's going to take you to heal. If they're like, it could be an hour, it could be 10 years. I mean, we'd probably be pretty mad at them, right? Just acknowledge that it's just an interesting point of view. And then you could ask your body, hey, body, and this is where you're getting into awareness. Body, will it take you, how long will it take you to heal? Will it take more than a week or less than a week? Will it take more than a month or less than a month? Will it take more than 3 months or less than 3 months? Okay. Will it take more than six, five? Okay, about 4.5 months. Okay. So it would be light. Can you perceive the difference of then if I was taking a point of view? It's like a lightness, and that could still change. So as I go forward, maybe my body speeds up because I start doing something different, or maybe it slows down because I start collecting solid points of view along the way. Okay. Awareness is only good for 10 seconds, but I have this awareness. Okay, about 4.5 months. Okay, cool. So, and then I would go to question of like, I wonder what are the infinite possibilities with this? What would it take for all of this to turn out greater than I ever imagined possible? Maybe I had an event coming up and I was gonna like maybe I was going to a wedding and I wanted to dance with someone. Hey, maybe it was within that marker. I'd be like, what would it take for me to be able to at least have one dance? What would it take for something really miraculous to show up? What would it take for me to have so much fun at the wedding? Maybe I don't even care about dancing. What would it take for, and so you're asking these questions, right? This is the space of creation, not from point of view. This is the creation from possibility because you're creating your reality now from this engagement with the universe and the topic involved. So in this case, it's the body. It could be money. What would it take for me to have the money to pay for this? What would it take for the money to show up for this? What would it take for me to have this with total ease? What would it take for this, right? So you're engaging with the energy or you're engaging with the topic and then the possibilities around it. If, say, some financial difficulty comes up and you're like, oh my God, I can't do this thing anymore. Maybe you love going to yoga, or maybe we usually quickly cut out those like things that we decide we don't need, right? If you go, I can't afford that, that is a point of view you've just taken. And then, of course, you can't afford it. That's exactly what will happen. But if you go, okay, what are the infinite possibilities with the money showing up? What are the infinite possibilities with this turning out greater than I ever imagined possible? What are the infinite possibilities with now you are creating with possibility? Every point of view you take, every single point of view you take will create your reality. And it's what has created your reality so far. That and a mix of the times where you were choosing from consciousness. Yeah. But any limitation that you have or any kind of stuck thing that you haven't been able to change is most likely rooted in some point of view that you bought at some time that you haven't yet released and you haven't yet let go of. And these points of view, oh, man, I get that it can be challenging because with this validation of the reality, so like I was sharing my experience where it kept happening, like I kept getting stolen from, I kept getting like all these things. I never have that anymore. Like I have cash all over my house and people have been over and no, my cash has never gone missing. No one's ever stolen money from me since I changed this point of view. And if I've gotten like an influx of cash, no one's ever tried to convince me to spend my money on them. Like this whole thing that I grew up with that was so part of my reality is completely gone because I was able to let go of those points of view. But this is why it's so hard for us to let go. This is why it's so challenging for us to go, okay, I created this. This isn't real. It's just a creation. It is an invention. I can let it go, is because you've had proof. You've had experiences over and over that have proven this point of view to be real and true. And this reality is based on that, right? Like the proof, like go to court and you're giving proof. You're supposed to give evidence to stuff, like prove your facts, like prove your, like, why do you believe that? Prove behind your beliefs. Like it's all this kind of thing. So you've had this reality proving to you that this limitation is absolutely solid and absolutely real. And for me to just hear and talk to you about it, you go, oh yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, it's not real. That's where I was sitting, driving in that car, defending my point of view. So what if you just played with it? What if you just really explored what is true for you? Remember, what's true for you is always going to have a sense of lightness. And what's not true for you is going to have a contractedness, you know what I mean? But it doesn't necessarily mean that the whole thing is a lie. So even as I'm talking, if you're contracting, you might want to ask, what is the lie unspoken here? And see what that uncovers, because it could be that you're becoming all very, very aware of all the lies you have bought that you created as points of view. Yes, that are creating the limitation of your life. It's incredible to actually dive in and explore this, for even if you take specific topics, things that are coming up in your life, and maybe even have someone ask you questions about it. Like, you could go with like, what's your reality with fill in the blank, like with your body. Okay, so what are all the points of view you created that created that reality? Are you willing to destroy and uncreate those points of view? Play with this, go in, ask questions, explore, get curious, destroy and uncreate all of these points of view, and start to, and so once you've done that, right, now you can start to play in this different playground of creation where you're weaving with true possibility, true question, true choice. This is where I've seen miracles and magic show up with people, and they can't even explain, doesn't even make sense why it happened, and it doesn't have to, because when you're functioning beyond points of view, that's when you are being the wizard that you are in the world. That's when you are creating from wizardry and magic and possibility, and that's where I like to live, and hopefully you enjoy living there too. If this sounds like something you'd want to explore more, I warmly invite you to a call I have coming up, all about this topic, all about your point of view creates your reality. And there is a warning on this, okay? The warning is you will most likely get a greater sense of your power, a greater sense of your potency, and a whole lot of tools that are going to contribute to you creating something truly magical beyond the limitations and the lies that you have bought. So please come, please join you. We'll have a link in the description below if that sounds interesting to you. I would love to really get these tools in the hands of people that want to create a different reality, because when you create a different reality and you live from that, you're inviting everyone you're connected to create a different reality and live from that, whether they choose to or not. But we become this walking possibility in the world. And when there's more and more and more of us choosing this and creating this way, then we change all of reality, not just our own reality. Please join me. Please come and play. We're going to have so much fun. And I will see you in the next episode of the Curious Universe podcast, where we break down the structures of reality so you can create your own reality without fixed points of view. Bye for now. Thank you for exploring the Curious Universe with me. Your curiosity matters. And what if together we could create a greater, more curious world?